Hi there, hello. Welcome back to the Pitch Grid. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back after we've had a nice break of Thanksgiving. Hope you all had enjoyed your holiday if you are from the States. It was a busy time, but we had a good Thanksgiving on our end. With that, let's jump right back in. We're doing our previews on pitch side for a very loaded week of fixtures as we are getting now into the festive period of fixtures for the EFL Championship. And then we will get into the week 14 matches in the NFL. Further ado, let's get right to it. We have a huge one at the top of the table on Friday in the EFL Championship as we go pitch side. It is Burnley hosting Middlesbrough. This is a huge match in terms of proving a lot of things for contenders. Two contenders that want to both get promoted from the championship this year. Um, this will go a long way to see what quality both teams have. Middlesbrough coming into this with an emphatic 3-1 win over Hull City. Meanwhile, Burnley having quite as emphatic a win with a 2-0 demolition of Stoke City. Um, so both teams taking care of business on their respective ends. Um, mm, yeah, this is going to be a good game. Really looking forward to it. Um, both have a very healthy goal difference. Um, one is Burnley is the best defense in the championship, I believe. I've allowed only 6 goals this season, which is amazing. And absolutely uncanny. It's so good, and especially at Turf Moor. Burnley are an excellent squad, and not very easy to break down. However, they are facing a Middlesbrough team that has scored 18 goals in 5 games. The only exception of not having scored a goal in this stretch is in the Blackburn loss they had over the midweek during Thanksgiving, where they lost 1-0. Otherwise, they have been flying lately, um, piling up results that are just gaudy numbers. Um, and Tommy Conway has now got 8 goals. Emmanuel Latte-Lath has 7. Tommy Conway is actually third now in the Golden Boot race, right behind Boris Signs and Josh Baja. Um, yeah, which is crazy to think, considering before the stretch they were nowhere close. Neither Conway or Latte-Lath were. Um, yeah, Burnley are. Yeah, this is going to be. It's going to be the um, immovable object meets irresistible force type game. It's gonna be a clash of two different styles. And two teams that are probably some of the best the championship has to offer at this point. Um, to be honest, Borough leads the championship in chances created, and of course has the championship's main assist man Finn Azaz, who, in my opinion, is very much up there for championship player of the season. I believe it's a lot of the talk is right now is between him and Boreas Signs. Um, Finn Zaz has 5 goals now in his last 5 games, I think it is, which is crazy considering before that he had none. Um, he is very much in form, um, very much ready for this type of game. Um, it's gonna be huge. Um, and we come to this actually in this game. We're actually gonna have a lot of their top players actually available. Riley McGree, Cindy Dang are probably going to be available to contend for a starting spot. Rav Vandenberg as well, I believe. Um, all returning from injury slash illness. Cindy Dang has missed the last couple of games for Borough with illness. Sol Britt have been amazing. the young academy product. So very good for him holding down the fort. In some cases, I believe fans have actually wanted Bryn to keep the job as he's been doing so well. It is quite the dilemma you think about because, um, yeah, it's going to be quite the dilemma in terms of you know who starts in goal because obviously um you want the best options available for you, the one who will keep goal better. But like, yeah, it's not going to be easy. Burnley also coming this with a bit of an injury problem. It's not awful though. Joe Worrell, he's going to probably be out with a foot injury. Um, yeah, Jordan Bayer is also going to be out, and Aaron Ramsey, um, Mike Tresor as well. So yeah, this is going to be yeah. Burnley's slightly banged up, but they have a lot of the pieces they need available, and the team that has really just put together a stalwart brick wall in front of their goal. If Borough can score first, I really think they could actually take control of this game and bring it to Burnley. Burnley do not have a ton of attacking options and are not very attack minded. So if Borough can take advantage of that and really, um, Jane Anthony, I think, is the best goal scoring threat Burnley has at this point, besides maybe Hannibal. Yeah. So if Middlesbrough can take advantage of that, maybe score an early goal and kind of dominate possession from there, which is hard because Burnley loves to keep hold of the ball. So Middlesbrough have to take their chances when they get them. Um, if somehow they are able to dominate the possession game, that's going to be even better for Middlesbrough chances. So yeah, very early playoff feeling game in the championship on Friday night in Turf Moor. Leeds Derby County. Derby County coming into this game having lost to Sheffield Wednesday on it was a dramatic comeback too. They were at home. Derby County had the lead. Barry Bannon pokes a screamer through the net to tie it up, and then Wednesday have a dramatic late last minute gasp equal go ahead goal to take the lead and break what had been a very dominant, well, not dominant, a very stalwart run of form at home for Derby County. And now they have to go to Ellen Road and take on Leeds United. Um, which is not going to be easy considering Leeds are in a purple patch of form, I believe. Yeah, actually, they are not. Excuse me. They lost 1-0 to Blackburn. I totally forgot about that. I just immediately thought about the Swansea game a couple of weeks ago on the weekend after Thanksgiving and forgot about last weekend, which before Thanksgiving, and then the Blackburn result. Mm. Yeah, that was rough for Leeds. Um, yeah, it's interesting because like you look at this at the Blackburn game here, and Leeds very much they had dominated the game in so many aspects. Um, in terms of shots and possession, and well, shots on goal. They really were pretty even on shot attempts, but shots on goal, Leeds were able to create more chances in that regard. Um, yeah, just an early penalty for Blackburn, even despite Leeds being able to just thrash the goal, um, the Blackburn goal. Ainsley Pears for Blackburn, you have to give him credit. Blackburn are on a bit of a tear right now. We'll get to them in a bit. But, yeah, Leeds definitely don't want this to be a problem. It shouldn't be. Blackburn are kind of in their own little good run right now, and being a couple of good sides now. the playoff places. Derby County is a whole other beast, and I don't expect this to be an issue for Leeds. Though, watch Derby County somehow beat Leeds, and that all go to pot. Um, but yeah, Derby County is a whole different beast on the road. Um, and Leeds are just so good at home; they're almost unbeatable there. So yeah, it's hard to see any other result other than a Leeds win here, just because of how they'll obviously want to be in good form, considering they have Middlesbrough coming up next on Tuesday next week for the midweek fixtures, which is, yeah, you can tell we're getting to the festive period by how close together the fixtures are becoming. Um, so yeah, I don't expect much from this match, except maybe Leeds win 2-0, maybe. I don't expect much other than that. Derby, I just don't. Derby just do not have a consistent run. Uh, However, if they are to win this, Leeds, that would be something. Leeds might have something to talk about at that point. Um, I do want to quickly touch on the Max Vober transfer news. There are links that he is going back to. He's in talks to go back to RB Salzburg. So Red Bull clubs kind of helping each other out. It will leave a huge gap in the defensive structure for Leeds United. Um, if if he leaves, so they will definitely have to focus on that. Even though they have the pieces, they don't have a complete defensive line, and at times that leads back line can be very leaky. So just look at the Swansea game a couple weekends ago. So to see that, um, yeah. Sheffield Wednesday Preston. Ooh, um, that's the next game up. It's of course we just talked about Wednesday getting the dramatic winner at Derby County to gain themselves some space from the relegation zone. They are up to 12th now, actually, 25 points. So that clears them 10 points off the relegation zone, which is huge for Wednesday. Preston, meanwhile, Preston are it's not looking good um for the boys from Deepdale. However, they did get a positive result, forcing a draw out of West Brom, who just can't seem. Well, we'll get to them in a bit, but West Brom are just in their own special run of form as of late. Yeah, this is a game that Preston are 3 points off the relegation zone at this point. Um, yeah, this is a interesting because if let's just say Preston somehow gain all 3 points, they will shoot up to somewhere around 14th in the table. It's so crazy how congested this table is in the championship. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Wednesday come into this with both of these teams really coming into this with some momentum a little bit. Preston, even with the draw at home against West Brom, I think that is their third straight draw, having drawn West Brom, Stoke, and Derby County. Um, I could easily actually see this being a draw myself because these are teams that Wednesday, while they are pretty good at home, they are much better at home than they are on the road. Um, Crazily enough, actually, this is the third win in 5 games for Sheffield Wednesday, um, which you wouldn't expect. Um, they've beaten Derby County, and then they beat um, Norwich um, and Hull. So yeah, out of those last 5, yeah. So it's not exactly been perfect, but at the same time, like it's enough that it's gotten them with a fairly healthy distance from the relegation zone. And if they want to keep that up, they need to keep winning or keep adding points to their total. They still don't. Neither team has the healthiest goal difference. Sheffield Wednesday has a -5 to Preston's -8. Um, and they both have pretty leaky defenses. I just if there is to be a winner, I would probably lean Wednesday just because Preston do not have much of an ability to score up front, and Emil Reese is just the main option for Preston, and he's only scored 4 goals in 18 matches. To be fair for Wednesday, it's not much better with Josh Windus having only scored 5. But if I could easily see this being a draw, just two, I would say, evenly matched teams for the most part, except they play very different styles of play. It is at Wednesday, so if there was to be a winner, I would not be shocked if Wednesday pulled it off. However, it's the championship. If Preston were to pull this off, I wouldn't be shocked either. You can't be shocked by any result at this point of the championship. Like anything can happen, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah. Let's move on to Sunderland hosting Stoke City. Um, Sunderland, they are coming off of a crazy, crazy, crazy game over last Friday, where they lost to Sheffield United 1-0. Um, it was a game which included 2 red cards, one for each side. So I think, if I'm correct, yeah, Chris Mepham's gonna miss this game for Sunderland, because of that. Um, and then of course, we'll get to Sheffield United in a bit and what that means for them. But yeah, Chris Mepham's probably gonna miss this game for Sunderland. It shouldn't be much of a problem considering it's Stoke City. We just talked about them and how the Potters lost. I believe it's the Potters lost. Yeah, the Potters lost 2-0 to Burnley. Um, and they're headed to Sunderland, who is very, very draw heavy in their form as of late. 4 draws before the loss to Sheffield United. To be fair, Stoke City is also a pretty heavy, draw heavy team. They've drawn 3 of the last 5 themselves. Um, but yeah, I tell you what, if Stoke City were to somehow get a draw out of this, I wouldn't be shocked considering they drew with Millwall a couple weeks ago, and QPR, and Preston. Yeah, they beat Blackburn too, which is the crazy part. Um, but yeah, um, yeah, this is a Sunderland team that has so much ability and are so good up front with Wilson Isidore, Joe Bellingham. I almost said Jude, his brother, um, and Patrick Roberts, Mayenda, and Tom Watson, and yeah, they've got a lot of good, promising young attacking talent, and of course, one of the better young goalkeepers in the country, and Patterson, who has been linked to a move to Tottenham, actually. Um, yeah, so it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be a very fascinating matchup. I just don't see how Sunderland could. If Sunderland are really the promotion contenders that they want to be, they need to be getting results against this kind of a team in Stoke City, and lately that just hasn't happened. I mean, they've drawn. Let's look at. They've drawn West Brom, drawn Millwall, drawn Coventry, drawn Preston, drawn QPR. I mean, a couple of those you get, like Millwall and West Brom. Yeah, those are 2 teams that have been pretty decent at this point of the year. They're both in the top 10. They're contending for a playoff spot. QPR and Preston and Coventry are teams at the bottom of the table. Though to be fair, Coventry might start to hit a purple patch themselves if Frank Lampard gets things together there. Um, but yeah, If Sunderland draws this one or loses somehow, I will be. You have to be concerned for Sunderland at that point because um, while they don't lose, they're not exactly winning points either, and they need the points to keep if they want the autos. They need to keep grabbing 3 points, and because they haven't, they have slipped all the way down to fourth place now, and are only 3 points ahead of T. Weir Derby, um, rival Middlesbrough in the playoff spots. And if somehow, let's just say, Middlesbrough were to win, they would be tied on points, and depending on their goal difference by that point, as Sunderland are only 2 up on goal difference actually. Um, Middlesbrough could move up to fourth um, with the win, but that's just say they lose to Stoke City, which if they lose to Stoke City, I would be very shocked. Sunderland are just such a much better team than Stoke. However, Stoke on their day can be very, very set in their ways, very tough to break down, and can play a very gritty style of ball. But if there was to be a winner, I would say Sunderland should win this pretty comfortably. But it's a championship, a draw would not shock me at all, considering how Sunderland has played lately. They just seem to lax off in the last little bit, Sunderland do, and just let teams come back into games that they have no business being in. So, yeah, it's this result could determine a lot, considering I think Sunderland they have Bristol City next, which is not an easy step up of matchup after Stoke. So they need this to be this a 3-pointer. Cardiff host Watford. Um, Next up, and yeah, this is a matchup between teams that Cardiff has really fallen off. The slight purple patch they had lately. They've now lost 3 of their last 5 and drawn the next 2. That has put Cardiff square right back near the relegation zone again. They're only 2 points off of it. They really need a result. Um, if they need a result, they need to look no further than how Plymouth somehow pulled off a result against Watford a little over a week ago. But yeah, Watford actually drew QPR over last weekend um, after beating Bristol City the weekend before. Yeah, this is good. Midweek. Um, yeah, this. I mean, you would think because Watford are in the playoff places, they're in sixth. Um, you would think Watford should win this. Instead, it fills me with like the most like this feels like a draw because Watford just so inconsistent. They can be good on attack one week. They can look so good, like they did against Oxford United or against Bristol City. They can score a goal there, or they can score 2 against Plymouth, and then they can win the Bristol City game or the Oxford United game, but then lose and then tie with Plymouth. Like you're up 2. I think it was 2-1 before the Andre Gray equalizer for Plymouth in the last few minutes, and yeah, I just don't know what to think about Watford. I do think they will eventually fall off because this inconsistency can't keep them at the top of the table for much longer. Um, because they've allowed 24 goals, and Cardiff has only allowed 4 more than Watford, who are in sixth place. Um, Cardiff has a negative 11 goal difference to Watford's +2. Yeah, I just you would think Watford should win this, but at the same time, like Cardiff, on their day, they can be good. They can be. It's just they just haven't been able to find the result they need lately. They did draw with Coventry City, and when they played Frank Lampard in his first game as manager of Coventry, they had the lead twice in that game and lost it. It just shows how kind of bad Cardiff's defense is. So I wouldn't be shocked if Watford are able to maybe score some goals. But you would think that about the QPR as well, and they were not able to get anything past QPR somehow. So yeah, it's so confusing. Watford's such a confusing team. I could easily see this being a draw. Oh, I really could. And if that happens, I mean, that would not help Watford's case any. They really want to pick up the points still. I mean, it wouldn't be bad either. At least they're picking up points. But, ideally, you want all 3 points in most cases, especially at the top of the table. Cardiff, of course, they would take a draw. Of course, they want to stay above the relegation zone, but obviously 3 points would be huge against Watford. But yeah, this just screams to me a draw somehow. Hull are hosting Blackburn next. Hull, of course, coming off the 3-1 loss to Middlesbrough, and Blackburn coming off their 1-0 win over Leeds. Blackburn are just in such a good run of form lately, beating Middlesbrough 1-0 and then Leeds 1-0. Yeah, good way to kind of come into this. And then, of course, they beat Cardiff 3-1 before that. Um, so they've rattled off 3 straight wins. Now they come into a patch of games where they have Hull, Wednesday, Luton, before they take on Millwall, Sunderland, and then Hull again. Yeah, this is just. You would think this should be a gimme for Blackburn, right? Considering how they've played the last 3 games. They played very well. It's just. This is the kind of game in the championship that somehow Hull's going to pull off 3 points, and you rethink everything you know about. You have to rethink everything you think you know about Blackburn Rovers. And um, yeah, I mean, the only thing about that is Hull City are just not a good goal scoring team. At this point, their highest goal scorer has 2 goals. That's Xavi Simons, and Christian Biel's Christian Biedia. So yeah, it's not good in terms of the goal output for Hull City. With the loss, actually, they did drop to the relegation zone. Hull City did. They are in the top part of the relegation zone and are only up on QPR by goal difference. They are -9 goal difference. The QPR is -11. So that's the only reason they are in 22nd, not 23rd. And Blackburn are in 8th with the results they have. They have 28 points on a +8 goal difference. Um, yeah, I would say Blackburn should win this. Kind of kick off the stretch of games that they should win. Um, yeah, if they somehow don't pick up points in this game, I will be very shocked. Blackburn are just in such a good run of form lately, and um, they, of course, want to keep pace with the playoff contenders. So, yeah, this should be a win for Blackburn. I wouldn't be shocked if. Well, I would be kind of shocked if Hull somehow were to gain all 3 points. They have not yet appointed a manager. They did sack Tom Walter over after the 3-1. No, it was before the 3-1 loss to Middlesbrough. It was after they lost to Sheffield Wednesday over midweek that Hull sacked Walter. So Hull are still looking for a manager. Um, it's the third or fourth. Yeah, I think it's the third manager sacked. So far before Christmas. In the championship, which is insane. And we have more that could be sacked, potentially. Speaking of teams that could have potentially sacked their manager, Luton Town. They take on Swansea City. Luton Town again losing. Shocker. We know. Um, they lost to Norwich City 4-2. Um, you have to feel bad for Luton Town because, for a while in this game, it felt like Luton Town could actually snatch all 3 points. And then Norwich happened at Carrow Road. I mean, just Norwich at Carrow Road is enough to tell you all you need to know. Somehow, Norwich just always find a way to pull out all 3 points or a point at home, which is very good for them. It's one of their better qualities this season, that they can just pull something out of the hat at home. And Luton just weren't able to. I think they had the lead twice. They had the lead at 1-0 and 2-1 before I think Norwich scored three straight and just buried Luton Town. And that's unfortunate for Luton Town. They are now in 19th on 18 points. So they have somewhat of a buffer. But they take on a Swansea team. Swansea team that has actually kind of found some kind of form in terms of goal scoring. They had that classic game against Leeds where they lost on the last second Willie Gnonto um, game winner, and then they came off that and just said, "Hey, we're gonna go win." They beat Derby County 2-1, and then they drew with Portsmouth 2-2 over the last weekend, and now it's you would think Swansea City would win this. Like if they keep this goal scoring run up, Swansea should win this. But at the same time, like as we've seen the last three games, like Swansea they concede a ton. They are not exactly firm at the back. But neither is Luton. Luton has allowed 33 goals to Swansea 17. I mean, 17 is not bad in the championship comparatively speaking, but still, like at times it feels like Swansea can be very cut open easily compared to some other teams. Um, yeah, if Swansea don't win this, I would be kind of shocked, just because Swansea I feel like are the better team at this point. But still, and they've also been able to score goals. But still, Luton has the talent to win this kind of a game and really shoot up the table a bit. But the question is, are they actually going to? And I don't feel like they are. And Swansea just has the attacking talent to. They do have it in some cases to take down Luton. So yeah, if Luton doesn't drop all 3 points, I would be shocked. So Millwall Coventry. This is going to be a good test early on for Frank Lampard. He had that 2-2 draw against Cardiff to open his managerial stint as at Coventry City. Meanwhile, Millwall, they coming off a draw with Oxford United over the weekend. 1-1 draw there. Yeah, these are two teams that, well, we'll get to the unfortunate news for Millwall real quick. Josh Coburn, on loan from Middlesbrough, he broke his metatarsal, and he's out for the foreseeable future, probably the rest of the season, it looks like, is the indication, I think. So it's so unfortunate because, like, Coburn is a talent that, like, Middlesbrough wants to grow and develop. He just gets injured all the time. And, yeah. He was having actually I think some good success at Millwall, and it just never came. It always seems to come at a bad time for Josh Coburn, and now they come against Coventry City, who they have the draw with Cardiff City, and a lot of Coventry fans are saying this is the best football they've seen their team play for the first half all season. Um, yeah, it just man. They give up a lot of goals. They do, and Millwall are a lot better at it at defending. They've only allowed 15. The thing is, neither team are great at scoring goals. Millwall has scored only 20, and their highest goal scorer is Duncan Watmore with 5. Haji Wright, well, I mean, goodness, he's by far their leading scorer for Coventry. and the guy that they go through, he's got 7 goals himself. Um, so yeah, this feels like a game that's very even actually. Somehow I could see this being a draw. I could see Coventry pulling this out. Millwall just they feel inconsistent to me lately. Like they drew Stoke a while back. They drew Oxford United. Obviously, they drew Sunderland, which was a good result for them. I mean, it kind of feels like now they kind of cooled off from the little 2-game run they had where they beat Burnley and Leeds. They've just kind of drawn teams now, which has kind of hurt the momentum they had where they were right in the playoff places for a bit after those 2 wins over Leeds and Burnley, and now they're 10th, 5 points off the playoffs. So, yeah, it which is crazy to think about. Um, yeah, so I don't know. It just feels like such an even game, actually. Um, like Millwall's defense could cancel out easily Coventry's attack, but I wouldn't be shocked either somehow either team were to win this. It is at the Den, so Millwall are at home, which is huge because I think they're a little bit better at home. That's where they got that win over Leeds, I think, and Millwall too, and Burnley. So those are, yeah. If they are to win, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if Coventry won this either because they're just Frank Lampard. I think got some bit of quality out of the attacking play last week against Cardiff. They just need to not allow goals. Um, so the question is, will the defense get tired for Coventry? And maybe not this year. I don't know. I could see Coventry ending mid-table somehow, or just below the playoff places. But I think Lampard, if he can keep that up, um, he might have something special going there because they have the attacking talent, and that's what Lampard wants to do. He wants to be aggressive. It seems like some of the recent transfer leaks suggest he wants to get even more aggressive, which is good because they have that kind of attacking talent. It might, you know, pull out a few results for them. Who knows? They just need to get that defense better. Somehow, I don't see them getting that better for a bit. So, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this was a draw, Millwall Coventry. But if either team were to win, I would not be shocked either because it's just it just feels so even. Such a fascinating matchup to me. Plymouth, Oxford United, two teams that are looking for answers. To be honest, we just talked about Oxford United. They drew with Millwall, so a good result for them after the 6-2 thrashing they had at the hands of Middlesbrough, and then they proceed to lose 3-0 to Sheffield United before this draw with Millwall. So, kind of riding the ship there a little bit, not much. Plymouth, meanwhile, they're having a rough go of it right now, man. Um, they lose 6-1 to Norwich in midweek, and then go to Bristol City and get thumped 4-0. So they've allowed 10 goals and only scored one. Yikes. It is at home park though. This is at home park. Um, and I think that's significant considering the last 2 results were on the road at Norwich and at Bristol. The last time they were at home, Plymouth somehow were able to draw Watford. Um, and somehow Plymouth have this uncanny ability to tie games or get points at the death in home games. And I mean they're playing an Oxford team that is there to be got. Um, I think the United and Middlesbrough games, Sheffield United and Middlesbrough games, show they're that Oxford are there to be got if you want to attack them. It's just a case of can Plymouth attack them? Plymouth have such a limited attack in a lot of ways. Their leading scorer is Morgan Whitaker with 3 goals. And Andre Gray also has 3 goals. 2 of them he got against Watford. And Abraham Sissoko also has 3 goals. Mark Harris is leading goal scorer for Oxford with 4 goals. so it's not exactly better at Oxford's end. Um, Oxford do have the significantly better goal differential just because of how awful Plymouth's defense is. Um, Plymouth have allowed 38 goals, which is insane. Um, I think that's one of the worst defensive records in the championship. It is by far. They have the worst defensive record in the championship. Um, so yeah, if they're gonna want to pull something out of this game, they need to be a lot better at the back. Oxford, if Oxford win this, I would not be shocked. They have the attacking talent to do it, and against a leaky Plymouth team, they could. However, it's at home park, and I'm hesitant to say anything can happen. Um, and I'm hesitant to say that just because Plymouth are so good at just absolutely somehow crapping out a draw or points at home, and that just makes it so hard to, yeah, it makes it so hard to back one team at home park at this point, 100%. Which feels weird because Plymouth, I mean, you wouldn't expect it because they're near the bottom of the table. They're, all that. But at the same time, somehow they're able to just scrape these points at home park. And it's kind of a sports phenomenon, which is crazy. But yeah, if Oxford were to win, I would not be shocked. They should be the favorites in this one. But at the same time, a draw would not be shocking either. Portsmouth, Bristol City. Bristol City coming off of the aforementioned 4-0 thumping of Plymouth Argyle at home. Meanwhile, Portsmouth were able to nick a draw off Swansea City. Um, and yeah, Portsmouth have looked lively a little bit lately. They had some cancellations before. Um, they had to cancel their game with Blackburn a little over a weekend ago, and I think they had to move that. I don't know where they moved it. Um, yeah, that would be interesting to see where they moved it. Um, right now, I'm looking at the schedule right now for Portsmouth. Um, I believe they moved it into March, which is crazy. Um, yeah, March. I think it looks like. Because yeah, and then yeah, yeah, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, Portsmouth are taking on a Bristol City team that is obviously not scored a ton like that, like they did against Plymouth. They're coming up against a Pompey side that has scored more goals lately. To be fair, in the last two games that they've played, they've scored a combined 5 goals. Granted against Swansea and Preston. Bristol City are, they're there to be got. And they're there to be got by some teams, but um, yeah, Portsmouth are just a pretty leaky team defensively overall. They have allowed 30 goals. Yeah, it just negative 12 goal difference. Obviously, a lot of that comes from a very poor start to the season for Pompey. Um, if somehow they are turning this around, this would be a huge, huge result for Pompey to get at home against a Bristol City team that is kind of flying a bit lately. Bristol City are currently in 11th, 25 points. Obviously, they had a huge thumping of Plymouth Argyle. They're in this little log jam at the midsection table, mid part of the table, where everyone from 9th to 12th are all on 25 points. So we had the log jam near the bottom of the table earlier at 15 points. Now we have the log jam at the middle of the table with 25 points. And we're kind of getting a log jam a little bit near the playoff places, with Watford and Middlesbrough tied at 30 points. Um, and they're only 5 points off of third and 6 points off of second, actually. So, yeah, Bristol City should win this. They should. but it's the championship, and I would not be shocked if somehow Portsmouth were able to get a 1-0 win at home and really start to climb up the table, considering they are starting to have somewhat of a forward momentum. Um, yeah, it will be very fascinating to see what comes of this, because if Portsmouth are able to get this, it's a huge momentum booster. Um, but yeah, Bristol City have some good scorers. Um, and like Scott Twine, and they are getting, I think, healthier right now. Um, hmm, but yeah, um, Pompey at the same time, like they've gotten their leading goal scorer back from last year, and I think that's kind of shown. Let's see, um, in the draw with Swansea, Josh Murphy scores. So Callum, I think, yeah. Let's see here, Bishop, yeah, he did. He is back, but he didn't score. Um, so yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. Now that Pompey's slightly healthier, if they are able to start maybe getting a little bit of momentum. Their schedule is not exactly easy this month. They have Bristol City, they have Norwich City, they have Derby County, they have Coventry, they have Watford, and then Bristol City again. This feels like a pattern where a lot of the teams that start the month with one team, they're going to end the month with the same team. And if you look at a lot of the schedules in the EFL, crazily enough, it just feels weird to me. Anyway, yeah, this just Bristol City should win this, but at the same time, like, watch Portsmouth just start to go on a run with with the draw to Swansea, um, and then this win and a win over Bristol City. They go into this kind of start climbing up the table and getting out of the relegation zone, which would be cool. Like, you kind of want Pompey to stay in the championship because they're so they're a team that have not been in the championship for a while. They're such a scrappy bunch. But yeah, Bristol City are if they were to lose this, it would be the most Bristol City type of thing to do. To lose this game. QPR Norwich City. We had Norwich City, like I said earlier, destroying Luton Town's hopes 4-2. And QPR, they got the tie with Watford. Yeah, Norwich should win this. This is on the road though. Norwich should win this though easily. They have the leading goal scorer, Borja Signs, who has 15 goals after he got a hat trick a couple of weeks ago against Plymouth Argyle. Oh, that was actually over midweek. But yeah, this should be a Norwich City win comfortably. There is a lot of talk with Norwich actually lately about transfers. Borja Signs is rumored to be linked to Galatasaray, the Turkish giant, which would be huge. If he were to leave, that'd be a huge gap in their attack. That's 15 goals. You cannot replace 15 goals easily. Josh Sargent also has been rumored to teams, obviously from last summer. So I would not be shocked if also he were to somehow be gone also by the transfer window ending. I don't know. If Norwich were to let both of their good players go, that almost feels like a white flag on the season, and I don't think they will. But it would be so fascinating to see where those end up. QPR just in the rut a little bit. Like they got the draw with Watford. They actually did get a 2-0 win over QPR. I mean over Cardiff, and then a draw with Stoke after their 2-0 loss to Leeds. So yeah, I mean they ended the month pretty well actually, getting some decent results. Now it's the time to like really start kind of doing it, but it's Norwich City, and Norwich City are just playing so well. Norwich do concede a lot of goals though. They have been starting to become a pretty leaky side at the back, which is from last year not normal. 27 goals. Actually, QPR conceded less than Norwich City, which is weird to think about because QPR in the relegation zone below Hull City. So, um, and the fact that Norwich City are in ninth place is crazy. But that shows how good their home form for Norwich has been. So, yeah, I Norwich should win this comfortably. But if they were not to, or if QPR were somehow to nick a draw, I would not be shocked at that either. West Brom, Sheffield United. West Brom are the kings of the draw. They they cannot stop drawing games to save their life. They have 10 draws on the year. 10 draws. They have 6 wins, 10 draws, 2 losses. The only reason they're not losing games is because they just know how to just get a draw, get out of there. Um, Besides their 2-1 win over Hull, at the beginning, near the beginning of November, they've drawn every other game they've played lately. 1-1 against Luton, 0-0 against Burnley, 2-2 against Norwich, 0-0 against Sunderland, and 1-1 against Preston. That's insane. And now they go up against the Sheffield United team that is on probably some of the best form right now in the championship. 4 wins out of 5, and 1 was a draw. And their other result in that 5-game span is a draw. That's crazy. It just shows how good, honestly, Sheffield United is. Yeah, that win was over Sunderland. Um, yeah. Um, that draw, I should say. What was the draw? The draw was against Coventry. Which Sheffield United were down to 10 men for that game. But yeah, this should be a fascinating game. If West Brom were somehow to drop more points on this game, you have to start wondering what is going on in West Brom because they are the kings of the draw, like I said. And if you're a playoff hopeful like West Brom is, you want to pick up 3 points. Start picking up 3 points, and quickly. I mean, granted we're almost near the halfway point of the season, but still, like they've got some matches that are coming up, man. They've got to play Sheffield United at the end of the month, which again, what is up with the playing a team twice in a month on the schedule for this year for the EFL Championship? Um, they have Coventry, they have Watford, they have Bristol City, they have Derby County. These are games they should win. A lot of these games. Uh, this is a game like if they were somehow to steal 3 points off of this game, that'd be fantastic for them. But like all I can see is a Sheffield United win or a draw. Like because somehow West Brom are just always able to find a draw, and that's not what West Brom need right now, by any stretch. Josh Maja, of course, second in the Golden Boot race with 10 goals, which is crazy. Tyrese Campbell actually leads Sheffield United now with 5 goals. He's only played 13 out of the 18 Sheffield United matches. Um, yeah, this is just. It's so hard to like look at this and say, "Oh, this should be a win for someone." Um, I didn't do that with Burnley Mills, bro. But because it's just that was such a good game. This is a good game too, to be fair. It just honestly, I West Brom just I can't say I have confidence in them to win a game lately. I can't because they don't know what winning a game is except if it's against Hull City. Then they know how to win the game. But otherwise, they're just the king of draws and picking up a point off of a game they maybe shouldn't be picking off points. In a lot of cases. Um, so yeah. I mean, they play well in a lot of these draws too. They just can't find the clinching goal. Which last year, you always felt like West Brom were going to, but I think also these run of draws kind of also shows that West Brom are a pretty solid side of the back, as are Sheffield United. So this could be a very defensive slugfest type game because both are just so good at the back. West Brom, I think, yeah, they've only allowed 12 goals. United have allowed 9. So these are two teams that are very good at the back and know what they're doing. It's just, ugh. Yeah, if Sheffield United should win this, I think. But if they were not, and it was somehow to be a draw, I would not be shocked as well because that's somehow West Brom's masterpiece at this point. And yeah, that's the championship for the weekend. A lot of exciting games in that weekend coming up. Let's head grid side and look at the Week 14 matchups. We start off with a hot one as Green Bay travels to Detroit to take on the Lions in Thursday Night Football. Lions are coming off of a close one. They lost. They won, but barely against the Chicago Bears, 23-20, and because of some slight incompetence by the Chicago coaching staff, in my opinion, um, which we'll get to later, Detroit was able to hang on and in regulation and not have overtime forced on them. Which I think if they had, I think Chicago wins it. But anyway, in Green Bay, they are coming off of a dominating win over Miami um, on Thanksgiving. So yeah, it's yeah, this is a game that will really, in a lot of ways, help decide the NFC North. They want to Lions meanwhile are trying to get to a 11 game winning streak, which is a franchise record. Um, if they were to win this game, it'd be a franchise record 11 straight, which is awesome. Like good for them. Packers, I just the Packers have been on a bit of a roll lately. Um, a bit of a roll. They've taken down, yeah, since the Lions game, they've won three straight. So this is the first time they've met. They will meet the Lions since that game in a month ago, and the Green Bay has looked a lot better in those three games since. So I this should be a good game. It's a fun game. Two teams in playoff positions. Green Bay, wanting to keep themselves in the division race. Obviously, if they were to win this, they would absolutely be right back in the thick of it for the division and hold the tiebreaker. Um, Detroit has just been losing defensive players left and right. They also are coming into this game fairly injured. They are not going to have Tyler Decker um, or Josh Pascal or yeah, it's going to be a lot. There's a lot of injuries for Detroit coming into this game. Um, yeah, but I mean to be fair, Green Bay are also coming into this game pretty injured themselves. I believe they're going to have no Romeo Dobbs or Jair Alexander, which is huge against a Lions offense. They still has their weapons, but like they're not going to have the offensive line that they normally have with Decker being out, and that's huge. Yeah, this should be a fun game. If Love is to keep up his how Jordan Love keeps up his momentum lately, I could see this easily being a Packers win. Lions would win this. I mean, they're at home. If they somehow to drop this, that would be kind of a shock. But I mean, they're also like they've been kind of scraping by a little bit in the last couple of games, I think. But still, they're one of the better teams in the league. Um, well, no, not scrape. They scraped by the Bears, and then before that, they were just molly-whopping teams before they barely beat the Texans. And so after they barely beat the Texans, so yeah, it's very much the injury bowl at this point, but two teams that need a win, and uh, it's huge in terms of playoff implications. So yeah, it's gonna be so fun. I'm looking forward to this game a lot. If you look at the playoff places, Green Bay is in sixth. They have a comfortable two-game lead on Washington. So if they were to lose Green Bay, they'd be a game ahead of Washington, and Washington, I think, are playing. They are playing this week. It looks like. Are they? Let's look. They are not actually. Interesting. So yeah, Washington is not playing this week. So yeah, they'd be a game up on the Commanders. So yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be a fascinating matchup, and whoever wins has a lot of momentum going to the rest of the season. I just really also want to quickly touch on the Lions' schedule because this starts a really insane patch of games to end the year for them. They get the Packers, they get the Bills, um, and then they get a couple of easier teams in the Bears and Niners. The Niners are just injured to hell and back, and then they get the Vikings to end the year. So they've got 3 out of 5 tough games to end the year. We're really going to see a lot of what the Lions are by the end of the year. So strap yourselves in for that. That's going to be fun. Saints Giants kicks off our Sunday for week 14. Uh, Saints, they are coming off of uh, they're coming off of a 21-14 loss to the Rams, which I think all but ends their playoff chances. Giants, of course, long since were eliminated from playoff contention. The Saints are 4-8. They are, it looks like they're pretty much done. They're down there with Bears and the Panthers and They're right below the Cowboys. But they are 3 games back with 4 to play, and it's not looking good. Um, the Saints should win this. I don't think that's like crazy to say at all. Derek Carr has been coming back and playing better. Tommy DeVito obviously is going to be the starter for the Giants. I think he is on the injury report, but I think unless something drastic has changed, he's going to start for the Giants. Obviously, the Giants the Giants over Thanksgiving they cut Daniel Jones, and he is now on the Vikings practice squad. So that's interesting. Um, could be a backup possibility if Sam Darnold gets hurt this year, which would be weird to say considering the Vikings are the team Daniel Jones beat in his only playoff game. Um, it feels ironic to say the least. But yeah, this is a team with 2 teams that don't have much to play for. Game that only really helps draft stock for the loser. I do think the Saints will win this. They're just the better team in my opinion. So yeah, it doesn't feel like it'll be close either. We get a rematch of the Snow Globe game we got a couple weeks ago. Thursday night football where Cleveland pulled out a win over Pittsburgh, and it felt like at the time like, oh, this could affect the playoff contention. But instead, the Steelers come right back and mollywop the Bengals 44-38 to essentially end the Bengals season. Um, and and the Browns, meanwhile, they they lost to the Broncos 41-32, and it's kind of a heartbreaker, really, honestly, because like they're 3-9 now. They were 3-8. They could have been 4-8, and actually would have taken over third place in the division if they had won that game. Um, and put the Bengals in last place, which is fun, which is weird and kind of funny to say at the same time. Um, yeah, this is in Pittsburgh though. It's an early game. I don't foresee the Steelers losing this one. They will be, I think, pretty motivated to, you know, just say, "Oh, we're going to beat you guys." Um, I don't know how close Pittsburgh is to clinching the division. I think they're 2 games up with 4 to play, well, with 5 technically to play. Um, they're 2 games up on the Ravens right now, so it's not exactly over. It's getting close though. Steelers, of course, if they were to win this, they would get even closer to clinching the division. And I think their schedule is somewhat favorable. Well, not really, actually. Wow, they've got some games. They've got after the Browns, they got the Eagles, they got the Ravens, they got the Chiefs, and the Bengals. So that's a gauntlet. Um, this is probably the most winnable game of the 4, besides maybe the Bengals. Depending on what week 18 looks like. But yeah, um, yeah, this should be a Steelers win. I don't foresee this being much of a problem for Pittsburgh. However, like I just said, the Browns they kept it close with Denver. I'm very pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to see that. They played it a lot closer than I thought they would, and made Broncos think, oh, we're gonna actually maybe lose a game, and they didn't. And Broncos, we're gonna get to them in a bit, but yeah, kind of a huge momentum downer for the Browns. I feel like if they had won that game, it might have actually created some good momentum for them. But as it is, I don't see the Steelers losing this one. If they do, it would be kind of shocking. But yeah, um, we get into the next one, which is Falcons at Vikings. Falcons coming off an ugly, ugly loss to the LA Chargers. Kirk Cousins threw three picks. Um, it was a 17-13 loss at home. The Chargers just were defensively very good, as they have been all year, and just clamped down on Kirk Cousins. And it doesn't get any easier now for the Falcons, who now face the Minnesota Vikings, who are 10-2. By the way, they are 10-2, and they are second in the division, which just shows how crazily good the Lions have been this year. And the Vikings, they came back from 19-6 down to the Arizona Cardinals. Credit to them, and beat the Cardinals 23-22 in a great game between two very good teams. Um, yeah, this is Falcons do lead the division right now, so technically the Falcons are in a playoff spot because of tiebreakers over Tampa Bay, who is also 6-6. Um, yeah, I just Falcons have kind of fallen off, kind of in NFC South fashion, but at the same time, like they're doing just enough to kind of hold their spot there at the top of the division. Um, and I mean they're only a game back of the Seahawks for third seed, but still, this is actually if right now if right now with the playoffs were to end today, this Falcons Vikings game would be a playoff game, and that's crazy to think about. But I do think the Vikings are just the better team. They have a much better defense, and if you know they play against Kirk like the Chargers did, this could be a long day for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons offense. Vikings offense has been slow, but they're still doing pretty good. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings were to just somehow squeak by or get a close win at home and really start and really put pressure on the Lions. I mean, with a with a win and a Lions loss, they would be tied with the Lions for the division, and that would if both teams were to win out somehow, that would set up a juicy Week 18 game between the Vikings and Lions for the division and the one seed potentially. So yeah, I'm kind of rooting for that chaos, but yeah, this is a game that feels like the Falcons should lose, but if they were to win, also somehow I would not be shocked. Vikings are favored by 6, which I think says a lot about how the Falcons have played lately. Um, let's see. Yeah, they're on a 3-game losing streak. They haven't won since they beat the Cowboys, 27-21 a few weeks ago, back in the beginning of November. So yeah, this is huge game for Atlanta to keep themselves in the division race. Because moving on to the next game, the Buccaneers host the Raiders. This is a the Buccaneers, 6-6. They are coming off of a win over the Panthers in overtime, 26-23. Barely scraping by that team. But at the same time, they win against a good division against a division rival who has kind of looked a lot better since Bryce Young came back off the bench. Meanwhile, the Raiders are just sinking up the joint. This year, they lost on Black Friday to the Chiefs, 19-17. Played their rivals tough, but still couldn't win. Um, Lost on a fumbled snap, and yeah, so now they play the Bucks. Pretty much just, I don't think. the Bucks are going to lose this game. They are favored by 6.5. They are at home. They want to put pressure on the Falcons. This is a perfect opportunity for them to put pressure and maybe take the division lead over the Falcons. At the same time, this could be a loss for the Bucks. Watch this be if the Falcons lose and somehow the Bucks still lose and let Atlanta still have the division. That just feels like such an NFC South thing to do. But at the same time, like this should be a win for the Bucks. I think Aiden O'Connell is going to be the quarterback because Gardner Minshew broke his collarbone a couple weeks ago. And the Bucks have Mike Evans back, and the Bucks offense has looked a lot better since. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucks just won this in very convincing fashion, and kept putting pressure on the Falcons. And this is a good opportunity for them to take the division, which you know felt like it was Atlanta's for a long time until lately when the Falcons have just started not playing well. So good job on the. This would be a huge win for the Bucks, I think, and not just in terms of playoff positioning, but also momentum. Just because it would be a third straight win for them after losing to the Niners, to the Chiefs, and the Falcons. So they after losing three straight, they've won two straight, and a win here would be three straight. So and then they go into a stretch with the Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, and Saints. Mostly winnable games for them, I think. So if they can win this game, it would build a lot of confidence going to the Chargers game too, and that game will show a lot, I think, about who both teams are. So um, this should be a pretty easy win for the Bucks. Panthers go to take on the Eagles. Bryce Young, we just talked about, led his team to a crushing overtime loss against the Bucks. Meanwhile, the Eagles steamrolled their way again. They are 10-2, which is crazy to say. They steamrolled the Ravens, 24-19. It didn't feel as close as the score indicates, to be honest. Saquon continues to be a very much an MVP candidate for the Eagles. Um, yeah, this is going to be a game that the Eagles should win and win convincingly. And I think the line shows as much. They are favored by 13. Though to be fair, like Bryce Young has played well enough that I could see this not being like a two possession game. Could be still one possession game, and still the Eagles look convincing overall. Um, and if you're a good team, you're going to win those kinds of close games against teams that want to give you their best shot. So, um, yeah, this feels like a game the Eagles should win convincingly. But I wouldn't be shocked if like Bryce Young somehow keeps it close. And makes Eagles fans sweat a little bit. Jags Titans, two teams that are fighting for a good draft pick at this point. Trevor Lawrence is out for he's on IR, so that pretty much ends his season, I think. Um, he got placed on IR. I think it was today, actually. He was playing with a very serious AC joint sprain, and then he got knocked out by Al Shire of the Texans in their close loss to them on last Sunday, and he had a concussion from that, and he was placed on IR because of that. So who's the? Yeah, it's Mac Jones, the backup for Jacksonville, taking on Will Levis. This somehow I could see the Titans winning this somehow. Like I just said, the Jags lost to the Texans. Meanwhile, the Titans just got steamrolled by the Commanders. Um, I do think the Titans are a slightly better team. It's the Calvin Ridley revenge game as well in Nashville, which is kind of funny. Calvin Ridley signs from the Jags to the Titans to make their receiving core better, and he has in some ways. It just isn't good enough right now, and you have to think it might be the quarterback. Who knows? But um, these are just two teams that just are not great, and I don't know. I kind of like the Texans. They have a better defense, in my opinion. They've been a lot better at a running game lately. They've been more competitive lately too. Even if they lost to the Commanders in very convincing fashion. Last week, they did beat the Texans 2 weeks ago. They, you know, at stretches can make games competitive, and then they just lose it because they're just bad. But they can make things competitive, so there's something there in Tennessee. They just need to keep building, I think. And this is just not, it's been their year. Just not been their year. Yeah. I do think the Titans are going to probably win this game. They are favored by 3.5. I just do not trust Mac Jones. Either he has not played well when he has played. Um, yeah, I don't see this being a great game. This is going to be a very ugly looking game, in my opinion. Jets Dolphins coming up as well. The last of the noon slot games. Dolphins fighting for a playoff spot. They are 2 games back, I think, of the Broncos. For that final playoff spot. Yeah, they are 2 games back, 2.5 really, because they've they played one less game than the Broncos. But that's sick. Yeah, the Broncos are actually on a bye this week, so this would be a huge win for the Dolphins to kind of gain some ground on the Broncos. Maybe officially they would officially put them 2 games back of the Broncos with 4 to play. The Jets, meanwhile, are coming off of a loss to the Seahawks 26-21, where they played good for stretches. They just couldn't finish out the game. Dolphins, meanwhile, are coming off of the blowout loss to the Packers in the cold. They are back in Miami now, so everything is okay in terms of the offense. Um, now that they're not in freezing temperatures, which Tua has not won in ever, which is crazy to say. Um, yeah, this is a Jets team that just doesn't know its identity, I think. And they're coming up against a Miami team that are fighting for their lives. They want this playoff spot. They have a chance to sneak in. They really do. If you look at the rest of their schedule, I think they have a chance to kind of solidify against some teams. They do play the Jets to end the year, actually. But they have the Texans, the Niners, and the Browns in between their 2 Jet games. So, the Texans game would really prove something, actually. Yeah, this is going to be interesting in terms of um the Dolphins' playoff chances. If they were to lose this game, I think it's over for the Dolphins pretty much. Um, yeah, I mean the Jets have the potential to win this game, but of the two, I like the Dolphins' offense better. They're more consistent, anyways. Yeah, so Dolphins should win this, but I wouldn't be shocked if somehow the Jets pulled off an upset and ended the Dolphins' season. It's a divisional game, so absolutely anything can happen. And speaking of divisional games, we get probably what I think is one of the underrated games of the week. Seattle taking on Arizona in Arizona. I've kind of showed my not so secret affinity for the Cardinals, who to me are a pretty scrappy bunch and really just I like this team a lot. They're just scrappy. They're fun to watch. Um, in my opinion, they're good defensively, and they just fight. They are absolutely ready to fight for each other. And they're playing a Seahawks team that has a game ahead of them. So this is basically, I think, for the division. You look at the Seattle schedule. The Seattle Seahawks have after this. They have the Packers, they have the Vikings, the Bears, and the Rams. So 3 games that are either they could go either way. They're tough opponents, and a Rams team that beat them, mind you, a few weeks ago. So this is, and then we look at the Cardinals schedule. The Cardinals have the Patriots, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Niners. So if somehow, hypothetically, if the Cardinals were to win this game, you would say probably they have the hypothetical edge in this division race because they have somewhat easier opponents. In 3 of the 4 games, 2 of the 4 games, because you never know with division games. Rams Niners is kind of a brutal way to end the year, but they'd have a couple of games to kind of, while the Seahawks have to play the Packers and Vikings, they have the Patriots and Panthers. So two games that maybe could separate them a little bit. So yeah, Seattle definitely wants to win this one. This is in Arizona. Um, yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to this. Arizona's favorite actually by 2.5 in this game. Um, yeah, man, this is so fun. I I, I kind of lean towards the side of the Cardinals. I know, shocking, because I again, like I think I've been pretty clear. I do like this Cardinal sponge, but at the same time, the Seahawks are pretty fun too. They've got Geno Smith, who can make a dazzling play when he needs to, and he can carry this team on his back. They're very scrappy. It feels very pre 2013 Seattle, where they were close, but they weren't quite there yet. And like Seattle has the pieces on both sides of the ball. They just need to fix their offensive line, their defensive line. And I feel like that's where the Cardinals could take advantage of it because they did extend James Conner over Thanksgiving week, so that secures their running back of the future, I think, which I think is good because Conner's been so good for them. Um, but yeah, really looking forward to this game. Really think this could be the game of the week. It has the most playoff implications besides the Chiefs Chargers game, maybe later, and maybe the Buck. There's a few other games that, but this feels like it could have tons of ripple effects. And not just the in terms of the division winner for the NFC West, but also um in terms of playoff seeding. Because like the winner, um yeah, that's gonna be interesting. The winner actually would get the fourth seed, I think, depending on who between Buccaneers, Falcons. Actually, yeah, it would. They would be the fourth seed because whoever wins this, um, though actually, if Seattle were to win, they would keep the third seed. So never mind. But um, yeah, this just feels like such a huge game in terms of seeding. If the Cardinals were to win this, they would be the fourth seed. Because of conference record. So yeah, this is just gonna be a fun game. Highly recommend. It's gonna be in the late afternoon window. So definitely, well, the early late afternoon window. Um, but yeah, this it's gonna be on CBS. Just tune in and kick back and watch a fun NFL game. So yeah, Bills Rams. Bills coming off of the domination of the 49ers and kind of crushing their souls. Meanwhile, the Rams coming off the narrow win over the Saints. Um, if the Bills keep playing the way they are, they should crush the Rams. But at the same time, like I could see the Rams being competitive, making this a competitive game. It is in LA, so this slightly favors the offenses on both sides. Which, speaking of offenses, like Josh Allen is an MVP candidate. He has been playing very well lately. Um, If somehow the Bills were to lose this, it would be kind of funny because of how good they've been. It just kind of would be almost like a. It would be very interesting. But yeah, the Bills should win this, I think. They have a very good offense. Needless to say. Um, yeah, they're coming up against a better Rams team than what has been, but like, and the Rams are also fine for their playoff lives. I believe. Yeah, they are. They're actually a game back of the Commanders. So yeah, they obviously want to keep fighting for their playoff lives. There's three teams, tied for that NFC um, bunch right behind the Commanders. They're only a game back. So winners obviously would you know keep the pressure on the Commanders when they come back from their bye to keep winning. But yeah, this is going to be a game that I think you can tell a lot of on both sides. So if the Rams win, that'd be huge. It'd be a huge kind of statement win. Meanwhile, the Bills, they've got a overall fairly easy schedule after this one. Besides the Lions game, they have the Patriots, Jets, and Patriots. So yeah, if the Bills, you know, they're gonna have to keep winning. If they want to take the 1 seed from the Chiefs, and this is a game that they should win if they want to keep that drive up. They want to keep the pressure on the Chiefs. So yeah, they should win this. They're favored by 4. That kind of feels right. It feels like a game that could be a one possession game late, and then the Bills just somehow pull away eventually at the end to make it look better than it actually was. Bears Niners is also a late afternoon game. Um, this feels like an elimination game for both teams. Whoever loses is eliminated probably from the playoff contention. Niners are 5-7. We just talked about them losing big time to the Bills. The Bears, meanwhile, they came off of a loss to the Lions that was very inexplicable. They did fire their head coach, Matt Eberflus, and they are of course looking for a new one. I believe their offensive coordinator is the interim coach, Thomas Brown. So he's been promoted twice now after firing their offensive coordinator and their head coach. He is the coach, and honestly, like, I don't think I'm crazy to say the Bears actually probably should be the favorites in this one. Because, like, I know the Niners have the talent, but, like, they're injured heavily. They lost both their top 2 running backs to the IR. Um, Christian McCaffrey is done for the year with a torn PCL after the Bills game, and Jordan Mason is also on IR. I don't remember exactly why right now, but he is on IR for yeah, it was a leg injury. But yeah, they're gonna get a lot of they're gonna get some people returning like Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, but at the same time, like it feels too little, too late, and Brock Purdy does not have a ton of weapons to throw to. Niners are favored by 4, but I don't think I'm crazy to say the Bears might win this, actually. There's reports like by Diana Rossini in The Athletic that the Bears players just weren't ready for Matt Eberflus to be fired, and the Bears have talent. They really do. 4-8 does not really show the kind of talent that the Bears have. I I don't know. This just feels like a game the Bears could pull a surprise and really give a boost to some fans and say, hey, we beat this team, that went to the Super Bowl last year. And meanwhile, Niners, it feels almost like the end of an era, kind of like, I don't know how many people remember the Navarro Bowman injury in the 2013 NFC Championship game, but that kind of signaled a downfall for the Niners. For a while, they had to rebuild for a few years before they kind of got into this dynasty mode against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 2019. Um, but yeah, it's with a lot of older players, a lot of expiring contracts. Um, do you pay Brock Purdy? Do you not? Do you pay Deebo Samuel? Do you pay Brandon Ayuk? A lot of questions heading into the offseason for a Niners team that felt like this was their year, and it has not been their year. Mostly due to injuries, to be fair. But yeah, very disappointing year for both teams who had expectations and have not met them at all. So yeah, very fascinating to see where these two go. Um, I feel like this is a sneaky upset in terms of where people are favoring teams. I do think if there's a team that could upset, the Bears could probably pull it off because they have the talent. I feel like the Niners are just kind of gutted at this point, and we saw that last week. So yeah, and then we get Sunday Night Football, Chargers at Chiefs. Chargers coming off the 17-13 win over the Falcons. Ugly but a productive win for the Chargers. All the same, they picked off Kirk Cousins 3 times, um, 4 times actually. And Justin Herbert didn't have his best game ever, but he did enough to get the win. You can say the same about Patrick Mahomes against the Raiders on Black Friday. He did enough to win. He didn't throw a costly pick, I don't think, or anything like that. Um, yeah, he threw for 306 and a touchdown. Um, yeah, so he did what he needed to win this game. Chiefs won off a fumbled snap by the Raiders, and yeah, the defense made plays when they needed to. Um, the Chiefs are getting DJ Humphries, who is rumored to be very close to coming into the starting lineup. Andy Reid's, kind of notorious for being slowly integrating to new players, and that kind of feels like what he's doing with DJ Humphries. Hollywood Brown is rumored to be coming back pretty soon, 2 or 3 weeks from now. So that'd be either the Texans or Steelers game that Hollywood Brown would probably be back for. So around Christmas time. Yeah, this is a game that will probably decide the AFC West. Let's be honest. The Chargers are 8-4, Chiefs are 11-1. If the Chargers want to get the division, this is the game to do it. This is the game to pull the Chiefs back to the Chargers level and make it close for the rest of the season. If the Chiefs are to somehow win this, they are 4 games up with 4 to play. I think, I don't know. That would be interesting, actually. Right now I'm gonna go check, see what clinching scenarios we have for the week, because that actually might be um a clinch division with if the Chiefs were to win this game. Um, yeah, yeah. So if the Chiefs win this game, they win the AFC West for the 12th straight year. Um, yeah. All the Chiefs need to do is win, and they will clinch the AFC West once again. Uh, uh, which it just feels like um, which just feels like almost an annual thing now at this point. Really quick, looking up how many times the Chiefs have won the AFC West in a row. Because it's a lot. Um, yeah. They have won it 8 straight. So, um, this would be their 9th straight AFC West title. They now actually own the more. After last year, they own the most AFC West titles of the 4 teams in the division, and this would be number 17. And it's just crazy to think about just how good a run this has been for the Chiefs. I heard a very interesting point by Colin Cowherd and Tom Brady as they were talking about this Chiefs team. A lot of people like to talk about how this is a Chiefs team that is winning close, winning some would say lucky. Colin Cowherd made the point, and Tom Brady agreed with him and kind of elaborated on it a bit more. Basically, that the 03-04 Patriots, the 03-04 and the 04-05 Patriots, who won back-to-back Super Bowls, by the way, the last team before the Chiefs to do it. Um, they were winning these kinds of games. They were winning close games. They were winning games like by the skin of their teeth, and yet they were still winning them. And it's just a sign of how good a team is. If you can win the close games, if you're winning these close games, you're showing that you have the resilience, you have what it takes to go win in pressure situations, which a lot of teams do not have. And I feel like that's kind of been the edge for the Chiefs for a lot of years because they have that edge to them. They have the knowledge of how to deal in a pressure situation for the most part. And A lot of teams don't. And, even like the Bengals, for example, like when they went on that little bit of a run after they've lost to the Chiefs in that AFC Championship game a couple of years ago, they have not been the same team since, especially one possession games. So it just shows, and I respect the Bengals a ton. Like, they're such a good team. They have a lot of good players, and we're going to get to them in a little bit. But because they play Monday night, but still, it's just I think people are going to really, really, really regret not taking in the greatness that this Chiefs team is because they don't like him right now, and they are the big bad bullies and are terrorizing everyone's favorite team because they are that good. And later, like when Mahomes is retired, when Kelsey's retired, and the Chiefs are back to 8-8, people are finally going to realize, oh, that Chiefs team is actually pretty good. And man, why didn't we savor the kind of greatness that was the Chiefs? Um, yeah, I feel like that's a lot of people are missing it, wanting to intentionally. So, um, but yeah, this is absolutely for the AFC West. The Chiefs clinched the division with a win. Chargers need the win to kind of help stabilize their playoff hopes. Going to be a fun game. Divisional games are always fun. I do think the Chiefs will win it, though. I do think they have just that slight bit of an edge. They are getting Pacheco back, and Charles Omenihu who's going to be back as well in full strength, I think. So, yeah, this is pretty much the Chiefs are getting healthy at the right time. And that is not a good sign for the NFL because a lot of the season the Chiefs have been very depleted on both sides of the ball. And now they're starting to get their players back. I think even Jalen Watson, a corner who was playing very well for the Chiefs for the most part, he's coming back. It sounds like he's dropping hints, at least on social media. He might be coming back for the playoffs. That's scary. If you're not a Chiefs fan, you're a fan of any playoff team, or you're a playoff team yourself. Like, that's scary. It really is. Moving on to Monday night. The final game of the week. We have Cowboys and Bengals. I believe this is going to be in Cincinnati. Yeah, it's two teams that are huge disappointments after expectations coming into the season. Um, Cowboys, they are on a 2-game winning. Oh, it's actually in Dallas. Um, Cowboys are actually coming into this game on a 2-game win streak. Having beaten two divisional rivals, they beat the Commanders, and they beat the Giants on Thanksgiving. So this is going to be um, Cowboys really trying to make a late playoff push. They are 2 games back of the Commanders with the tiebreaker. So obviously, any win helps the Cowboys' cause of, maybe, deludedly making the playoffs again. And that it's not likely, but, winning out, anything is possible in the NFL in the final weeks. We've seen crazier stuff like Jaguars and Titans in consecutive years blowing a division lead in the final weeks. So, yeah, it's not exactly a foregone conclusion the Cowboys do not make the playoffs, but it doesn't look likely. Bengals should win this game. They have the better offense. The Cowboys defense, to be fair, has been playing better as of late, but it's against the Commanders, and then you don't know if the Giants thing is just a fluke or what. But like the last couple of weeks, the Cowboys defense has somehow played better, and if they keep that up, that might be a problem considering Bengals defense is not very good. They are paper mache. They have allowed 44 points. Joe Burrow, poor guy, like he is putting up MVP numbers, and dude is on a 4-8 team, and trying to keep the team above water. And they lose this game, I think they're eliminated for the playoffs, playoff contention. So, um, yeah, they would be 4 games back with 4 to play. Yeah, that's it. I think if they were to lose this game, but yeah, it just feels so disappointing for a Bengals team that had so high expectations. Just 2 years ago, we're in an AFC Championship game, and now we'll have missed the playoffs for 2 straight years. That's just a crazy, crazy, crazy turnaround um, for a team that has historically kind of not been a great franchise, and their fan base is extremely hungry for a Super Bowl, and they thought they had their window, and now it's kind of, at least for the last couple of years, crashed down. Who knows? They rebuild a few things on defense and bulk up on the offense a bit, and they might be a lot better. But it's going to be tricky for their offseason. Yeah, the Cowboys are kind of in the same boat, I think, with their star quarterback they paid this year injured, and yeah, they've dealt with a lot of injuries on the Cowboys side. I do think the Bengals should win this. They have a really good offense, and I think they could outscore Cooper Rush and company. So that's, yeah. If there's a winner, there has to be, obviously, Cooper. I do think the Bengals will pull it out and live to fight another day. Um, yeah, it just, man, you feel like you've seen on this game of two teams that just have wasted potential, and that's kind of sad. So yeah, that's the Grid Side review preview for the week. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Greatly appreciated. Um, If you want to keep up with the show and know every time we drop an episode, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment or go subscribe on Spotify. We are on Apple Music. We are on Amazon Music. We are on Audible. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok, so give us a follow there. We are on Twitter as well, on Blue Sky, on Facebook. So multiple ways to find us and keep in touch. Any comments on how to improve the episode from week to week are greatly appreciated. And we will see you for the next episode.